I'm CK. Tonight we've got another kit from the iSolderStore. You know what it is because you've looked at the title of this video. I forget because I buy so many. It says iSolderStore soldering ... project solder kits. So I don't really know, though I can see a big old MOSFET in here. So it might be somewhat power related, I don't know. So we'll put it together, see how easy it is to build, see if we learn anything from it. And as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's see what's in the bag and figure out what it is. Again, you already know. I don't know. It's got a battery holder too for a big battery. Oh, it looks like it's a big lithium. Oh, it's a 3.7 volt lithium, which I think I have. I mean, I'm sure I have one around. I don't know if I have a charged one though. Ah, come on, open up. And this is a arc electronic lighter. Oh, okay. So it's got all the stuff to step up the voltage of this 3.7 volt battery. That's the lithium batteries you can find in flashlights and other things. I think I'll just drag a power supply over and do that. Because I don't think... I'll have to take a look. But let's see what we got. It's kind of small. Here's the board. It's got one 470 microfarad capacitor. It's got a switch. It's got a 33 ohm 1 watt resistor. This will be where the MOSFET goes. There's a diode. Here I believe is a transformer. Oh, you can see this is drilled and it's on a big silver plate as a heat sink. And here is a jack, and on the far side we're going to build up the whiskers. We'll figure the parts out when we get there. Here's the cap. Oh, it's already set up for us. Here's the transformer, and here's the arc wires, because I've seen these before. We'll align these somehow to get them close enough to arc. Then here's the wires that we're going to solder onto the board, and hopefully there's a good picture somewhere of this, because these can be a little confusing to put on, but we'll figure it out. Here's the jacks for power. Here's the big switching transistor, power protection diode, and a little tactile switch. Click, click, click. And a screw and a nut to connect the transistor to the board to make sure it stays tight on the heatsink. And a tie wrap to lash down the transformer right here. So let's see. So that's it. Obviously there's not a lot to this. And we're going to do all this. So the transformer, thick wire on the right side of the transformer, the right side onto the hole in the right, thin wire onto the left side of the transformer onto the left hole, combination wire in the middle of the transformer onto the middle hole. Now you have to know which side is the right and which side is the left for that to really be an effective thing to say. So we'll figure that out later. After it's powered on, both ends of the terminals will generate a high temperature arc which can light the paper and keep it away from touch to avoid burns. It's recommended not to power on more than 1 minute each time to avoid high temperature. In other words, either the transistor or the transformer will melt on you. So again, left and right. I don't know which is the top side and which is the bottom side, but we'll see if we can get that figured out. I'll get the soldering iron heated up and we'll start putting this fella together. Two things now that we're back. I did find and was able to charge one 3.7 volt lithium ion. I have another one that I thought I needed to use and the one I was questioning, and that one won't take a charge. It probably went to 0 and is no longer chemically active, and you do not want to try and recharge a lithium ion battery that has gone completely dead. Bad idea unless you monitor it very closely. And on the product page for this kit on Amazon, we do have a picture of how the transformer goes on. I will admit it's still a little ambiguous, but it does look like the arc leads are on the bottom, so that tells us what to do. So that will make it much easier. And again, let's just look at it. I didn't talk about this much. I'm sorry, I apologize. So we're going to put power in here. We're going to have a big old 470 microfarad cap here that gets charged by that power. And we're going to have a switch which triggers this transistor to start switching, and it's going to quickly switch and charge this battery, which is going to hit this transformer, which is going to make the sparks happen at the other end. MOSFETs, the most common electronic component in the world, apparently. Now we're just going to do our regular stuff, and because this is taking so much power, that's why we have a 1 watt resistor instead of, most of our, let me grab one. Most of the electronic kits you see me build use either these 1/4 watt or half watt resistors, and I don't have a half watt here on my bench right now, but they're substantially smaller. But because this is pulsing so much power, so much voltage, we got to have a beefy resistor. So put that on. And beefy resistors like this, you can actually read the color bands really easily. So that's 330, 330 or 33 ohms, and only 4 bands, not 5 bands. And takes solder very well, so that's good. Now we'll put the capacitor on, and we're doing it as a lay-down capacitor, and we've got two things here. We've got a long lead telling us that's the positive side, and on the circuit board we've got a plus sign and a shaded sign. The shaded side is to match the shaded side on the capacitor, indicating the negative side of the cap. I don't think I'm going to need much more solder than this, quite frankly. Come on! There we go. I'll leave that one where it is. Now we put the diode on. Again, it's a polarity protection diode, and it's got, where is my pointy thing? It's got a silver stripe right here, and there's a white stripe on the circuit board. Now put the switch on. Now these tactile switches are rectangular. They are not square. A square is a rectangle, but not all rectangles are squares. So since it's rectangular, it is nearly impossible to put on incorrectly. I say nearly impossible because when I was a kid, first learning to do models and build electronics at 8 or 9 back in the 60s, I could force things in. If I thought it went a certain way, I could certainly force anything in wrong if I tried hard enough. Now we're going to put the what they call triode, but we'll call transistor. And because it's got a heat sink, I'm going to grab some of my high density thermal paste and just put a tiny dab here. You never need much thermal paste. I mean, if you spread too much of it on, you will just make a mess. And I'll tell you what, in my opinion, there ain't much messier than thermal paste. And that just helps the conductivity between the aluminum backing here and the pad they've created to help dissipate the heat. So we're going to bend it over like that, as you can see. And before I put any solder on it, I'm going to put the screw through so we know it's in place correctly. And where's my little screwdriver? Where's my little screwdriver? It's in the place it's supposed to be, so I can reach for it with one hand and without looking. Okay, let's do these leads. Actually, I think I am going to run out of solder. Out of this piece of solder, poor me. Now we're going to put the power connector on. Go like this. And I'll use a thick piece of solder because I do have that on my workbench from another project. Actually, there's a project out on the car. Now we're going to fumble around with this. Let's see what we have. First, we're going to take the arc wires to the side so they don't confuse us any more than we are typically confused. So we've got, trying to get this right, we've got this wire, and this wire. And this thin wire, these are both scraped and tinned. This one isn't. That's interesting. So I'm going to get my little razor blade. Where is it? Getting my head in the shot. And I don't have a razor blade right here. Where's my... I'll use this. So I'm going to scrape some of the lacquer off this wire. So we get good conductivity. It's fragile wire, so you can't go whole hog at it. I believe I've got enough of the insulation, the lacquer insulation off it to make it work well. I'll put the X-Acto knife back. Now we're going to put, again, I'm just triple checking myself. Oh, heck with it. What's the worst that can happen? I don't think we're going to have a problem with it. Even if we were to wire it backwards, it probably wouldn't matter because it'd just be the phase that would be backwards. Now this one, I just scraped this off, didn't I? I mean, you just saw me scrape this off. Did it break off where I scraped it? I think it broke off where I scraped it. That's what I mean. You have to be very gentle with this. Scrape it again. No, I didn't. I just can't see it very clearly. So that's just something you got to be careful about. Okay, I think that's scraped off all we need to do. I keep confusing myself. Now where, I'm sorry I confused myself again. We'll go back to, I'm going to solder this middle one first, just so I'm not trying to wrangle all the leads at the same time. I could use the tie wrap to lock it down, but I don't think I'm going to do that right now because I want to have a little flexibility with the wires. Now we're going to do that one that I have been scraping on. I hope there's conductivity there. I think there is, but can't guarantee it, of course, until we power it up. But I can always take that back out and reflow it. Let me get the last one in. So that's that way. Now we're going to move this forward and we're going to take our tie wrap. Wrap it around the transformer. Get it seated, positioned where I want it. Tighten that up. That looks good. Get that off. Now make sure these are not interfering with each other directly. I think we're all good. We're almost ready to go here. And what we're going to do next is we're going to make the arc points. So I'm going to get some bendy pliers. You don't need to use bendy pliers. You can just use needle nose. I happen to have more money than sense when it comes to tools, so I tend to buy somewhat specialized and useless tools. Now I'm going to start by making a small gap here. Only a millimeter or two. These are a little bit hard to, don't want them touching, don't want them touching. Now I'm going to get the battery case and we're going to screw it into the thing here, and looks like this side is the positive side and the other side is naturally the negative side. It should be good. Now one thing you might notice, we're pumping power through here, and if you touch the back, it's very likely you'll get a minor shock, so just be careful, don't touch the back. Now I'm going to put the battery in. Put it up here like so you can see what I'm doing. Doesn't fit very well. Now I'm going to press the button. There, oh look at that. Oh, that's a very good arc. Hold on a second, let me turn off these lights and try and zoom down. Okay, so we're going to be looking right here at that gap as I press the button. See that? See the blue arc? Going to pull it apart. Wow, that's a good 5, that's almost a centimeter that I can get. I can draw the arc out at. That's pretty neat. I'm going to turn my overhead light off too, so maybe we can see it even better. So you can see the arc dancing there, I believe. Is this all the way zoomed in? Yes, it is. Let me move this back a little bit more. Yep. Man, the transistor's already heating up. So that's what it does. Draws an arc. Now if I put the paper in here, it will set the paper on fire. See that? So you could use that as a portable fire starter if you want. So that's pretty neat. That was a fun, quick kit. The only challenge being having a 3.7, I'm going to zoom back out, having a 3.7 volt battery, which comes in many flashlights nowadays, having that, and then the transformer. Let me turn my light back on and we'll zoom back in on that so I'll give you a better view of the way that looks when it's soldered in. Hopefully you can see that well enough. So the wires go on the bottom. Wow, that resistor is really hot from handling all that volts. So the wires are on the bottom, and with the wires on the bottom, that's left, middle, and right. And as you saw, it works just fine. And I hope you enjoyed the video.